Hey y'all. Hey. So we're gonna let y'all know right now, that's our people tanks today. Are we riding on E
Mm.
and acting like we got 25 miles still in the tank
Oh my God, why are you telling my entire life
when it
about
told
how
us
I
we
don't
only got two?
use gas?
Okay. So welcome back to the AudaSEWtea podcast.
Hooty
Well,
hoo.
well, sometimes we don't put up with bullshit at all. At all. You
Mm-mm.
understand me? So we ask for y'all grace today, as we will give grace to y'all.
Hmm.
But we about to be real with it. I am one of your hosts, the ever tired, Jesus, the ever tired and bewildered. Julian of Julian Creates.
Not the ever tired. Not the ever tired.
Oh Lord, that's all I got. Who you? Who you? Who I'm talking to today?
Who am I? Okay, I'm sorry. I went back to my early 2000s
Right.
favorites,
Uh,
but
what?
this is Aaronica, of course, of the Needle and the Bell, and we are excited to have a discussion that, of course, the tea is hot in the sewing community that's discussing this, but I think that it's also really important for us to share our perspective on this for a couple of reasons. Why? Because I kind of rose in the sewing community as a pattern tester, and now I am a pattern designer. Julian is a pattern designer. And this is something we like when you design patterns and you get good fits and stuff like that, you can't get around the testing process, right? And now if you're like, how is this related to anything in the sewing community and you're not up to date on what's going on, I'm not going to get into specifics because yes, we like our tea piping hot, but we are not messy. Okay.
There you
Um,
go.
okay. So one of the
But
things
if
that
you come for us before we send for you,
oh,
oh, the mess will be all out. But we ain't gonna do that.
we're not going to do it. We're not
Go
going to
with
do it
God. Hallelujah.
because we are with God today. But also, so I really feel like this opens up a really great discussion surrounding things, right? And now I'm going to put myself and my business out there because I don't have a problem with that because that's who I am as a person. Whatever. I feel like everything is a learning experience. I'm a work in progress and I'm always, trying to be the best that I can be. But when I tested my last pattern, the Primrose for Made for Mermaids, I struggled a lot. I struggled a lot mentally, emotionally, and I was getting feedback from testers, and I was just like, oh, like in my like I did not I didn't share this in my tester group and nobody felt this. And my testers actually confirmed this after the fact. But it felt like everybody's feedback was hypercritical and they hated my design, they hated the construction, and like everything was bad, right? But of
Mm-hmm.
course, we also know that at the same time, I was still navigating mental health after having a double mastectomy, going into the holiday season. What I did not tell people is that I had increasing discomfort with my expanders that were in my chest, and I was still navigating a lot of the things that were just kind of happening in life. Period. We were going into the holiday season. And when you have major life things that happen and you don't get a chance to fully process them, mentally and emotionally, it can be hard to function as a regular person. Like it can be really hard to be like, oh, yes, I'm not hypersensitive, right? And in the
Mm-hmm.
moment, I did recognize that I was not receiving the feedback as feedback. I was receiving the feedback as personal attacks. Now, I was able to say to Megan, who I designed for, hey girl, like, can you just kind of step in and I'll take care of all the edits and stuff like that. Um, and because again, Made for Mermaids, Megan runs a team that feels more like family than just work. And she was like, don't worry about it. Like, I got you. Um, so she began to kind of step in to help me navigate that space so that I was not taking it personal.
Mm-hmm.
But also, Megan and the Made for Mermaids team also step in for me when I'm like, okay, so it feels like they're trying to change my entire design. And they're like, you don't have to listen to all of the feedback.
Hmm.
So I think it's important for us to bring to the table and have an open discussion about how to set standards or what we're looking for as people who are running tests and how testers can make it so that we receive the feedback for what we need the feedback for.
Hmm. So, and we've honestly, well, we decided, we named this episode before we actually decided to talk about it.
Hmm.
Say it to my face is the name of this episode. And I think
Yes.
it really stems from people having so much to say outside of the parameters that you were given the opportunity to say it. But then
Hmm.
also too outside because we both do design for a commercial company with Nomi. Um the the snarky folks and the
Oh,
e-ballers, those who get the biggest ball, the biggest cojones when they are online, when there is an anonymity in front of them.
great job
Is
with that pronunciation as well.
look, I had to
Because I
catch my
mispronounced it in my
tongue.
head as you were saying it.
My tongue was about to do something crazy.
Okay, pause.
Look, ow, ow. Um, but forgetting that there are people behind it,
Hmm.
and in
Hmm.
certain instances, like we don't have full autonomy. Like we can't say everything because we are not doing the whole process ourselves. But then people are
Right.
bashing us like we the one who made the thread Jesus sold with and put it all out together.
Hmm.
So we really want to talk about having and we learned this at work. I was in a training called conversational
Oh.
capacity to have difficult
Hmm.
discussions and using that in a
Hmm.
creative manner to bring about a viable product for patterning.
Wow.
So this is
Wow.
what happens when you talk to me earlier in the day and I don't have lunch.
Wow.
I could
I
use a
know
better.
we're now you listen, we are recording at a completely different time. It is like 1 o'clock in the afternoon. We normally do like a little late night situation. Like
Mm-hmm.
that's what our norm is. We're normally like, okay, let me chat. We're gonna do this before we go to bed. Um, but I think that that conversational competence is super important, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because it says that it's okay for us to communicate with the tools that we have and not be over here trying to persuade you to do different, right?
Right.
And I think that that is so important, especially as it pertains to pattern testing, pattern feedback, that sort of thing. I remember, um, okay, so also I need to correct myself to this designer. I'll do that separately. But there is a pattern company. I will not name the name. Their their drafting was, I hear that it's gotten better, questionable at best. And I remember there was a point in time where in free speech on Facebook, they were dragged to hell. But none of their testers stood up for them, right? None of their testers said, hey, I never had those problems with the pattern or anything like that. And I do also think that the reason why the testers didn't stand up and say anything is because during the pattern test, the designer was not the most did not receive the feedback. And it wasn't necessarily about design or aesthetic. It was about the way that the pattern was drafted and like the sizing was off. Like I remember going back and I wanted to use the pattern for like an oversized, like boxy sweatshirt. And Julian, no lie, the cuffs were like huge. And I was like, who has like a 15-inch wrist?
Child of God. Mm-mm.
Right.
That's me.
I never brought I did, but I ended up taking that feedback directly to the designer herself, even though I still
Mhm.
won't sew their patterns because again, questionable at best drafting. Um, but I think that one, we need to talk about what the expectations that we have as designers of testers.
Mhm.
Um, and what we need, because I will say that this is not something that we can do without, right? And I do think that we can tell when a pattern has been properly and thoroughly tested versus when it hasn't, right? Like I'm
Mhm.
currently in a test for patterns for pirates, and Judy is on the fifth version of a pair of jeans, right?
Mm. Mhm.
And she's basing her changes on the construction, not the construction feedback, but the feedback for fit, the feedback for the grading. And she's actually, Judy has been drafting for a very, very long time. And in my opinion, she's probably labeled expert, right? Because she can probably put that together in no time, whatever. She makes those changes and then she sews it up super fast, right? But if a pattern is not properly tested, then the results are not going to be great. So let's
Mhm.
talk about what we as designers need from our testers when giving that feedback.
Absolutely. And I think so. And let me preface this by saying where I am in the process. So I'm a baby designer. I am currently taking the confident pattern making course, so that I can learn to do indie patterns myself.
Hmm.
With a totally different vibe and aesthetic than what you will see from me. Um,
I'm so excited.
and we've been going through, but me and Illustrator, Jesus. I'm calling on him a lot today because that's where we at.
Mm, mm,
Um, I'm getting through it and I'm excited. This is as far as this I've ever gotten with Illustrator before. And it actually looked like a pattern, I'll be real honest. But there are pieces that I'm still trying to capture, and me and my fingers don't like knowing all the tips and tricks to use is different.
hmm.
But I also know as an artist, I'm sensitive about my
Not my
shit.
shit. Yeah.
And sometimes what we find is that people will um totally say like this whole design stinks and it's about the design, and it really the design reflects on my vision, and that's
Hmm.
what you're coming against than anything else.
Yeah.
We see the same thing in a lot of our Facebook groups, and we talked about this previously.
Hmm.
Like in my group, there was a little bit ago, there was a lady who had some things to say about a shirt I made, and I wasn't asking for no feedback or input. Can we talk
Mm-mm.
about that? I think that, and that's the first thing that we need to discuss is that I think that people need to say, what do we want? Like, so in terms of feedback, what I need you to be looking
Hmm.
at, looking
Hmm.
for? Is it my construction? Is it the fit? Is it like
Hmm.
the basic rudimentary things? And
Right.
that is, I think, what people need to be looking at. Now,
Yeah.
if you do not like where a flounce is, if you do not like where a pleat is, or anything like that, sometimes I don't care.
Mm.
Then
Right.
that
Because
this may not be the
we're not
pattern for
changing the
you.
aesthetic. We're not changing the design.
Correct.
Yeah.
These are the things that we are changing, and I think that it could be helpful for all of us.
Hmm.
And I know that when I go through things, and even like, and I do this even with papers, because I hate when I tell you I hate editing or I hate going through editing processes. It's just that is one of the most anxiety
Yeah.
inducing things for me.
Yeah.
Understand that through college, and I'm about to tell on myself, and I need
Uh-oh.
y'all to hear me. I would write whole papers, finals and everything like that, and would never look at them again.
Never look at
Meaning
them again.
I would never edit
Edit
them.
them. He
They
said
would
the
just,
rough draft is the final copy. You're welcome.
it would be sent.
Yeah.
Now, did I graduate with a 3.9? I surely did, but we ain't gonna talk about that.
Well, not everybody is God's favorite, so.
I mean, you know. Um, but especially in my current line of work and stuff like that, who is very edit heavy,
Mhm.
I've had to basically train the people that I work with and train the team that I'm with, understand that the back and forth is not what's going to be conducive for me. And I will not be able
Yeah.
to be a good team player and to be open to everything. I just need, if there are glaring mistakes or something like that, please change them.
Yeah.
Now, if there are things that need to be clarified or thought processes that we need to refine or something like that, then let's have that discussion. But do not come to me about semantics and everything like that and noun verb agreement or whatever it's called, adjective verb agreement, and don't do that. Don't do it to
Yeah.
me. I'm
Yeah.
not that person for you. Some people they love that. But I know to send my paper to the person who loves to edit and let them do it. And then we can talk about the other intellectual pieces of it beyond that. But all the don't do that. And I think we need to like as I'm already thinking of the whole testing process for me, which I'm also scared about because again, I can be like you and feel attacked, and Lord Jesus, I gotta be ready. I do plan to create a document of the questions I want to answer when I send out my pattern. Um, I think that is helpful. Like, hey, when we're looking at this, this is what I want you to look at. Can you answer these questions for me?
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think that even in the same way, I think that And honestly, this could be something for ground rules for all of our groups and stuff like that when people post. Hey, this is what I've been making. I just want to show y'all my process. I don't want any edits. I'm just showing y'all what I'm doing. That's
Hmm.
one thing. When I want feedback, can you tell me how this looks? Or can you tell me I seem to have a wrinkle here? Can you help me fix this? Now,
Oh, yeah.
sometimes a wrinkle could be because I didn't pull the shirt down because it needed to be pulled down and actually put on correctly, and I just
Right.
threw it on to take some pictures. Or it could be because there is an actual fit issue and I'm
Hmm.
trying to solve something. Um, but I can say that. I think that a lot of people, and we forget, even in trying to be helpful, is that style and fit sometimes can be very subjective.
Yes.
People like the way they like their things,
Very true. Very true.
and it may not be the way that you would do it.
That part. Yeah. And
Now,
of
with the
course, we see that a
pattern,
lot. We see that a lot.
oh,
And I love that.
absolutely. Now, with the pattern, I think that we need to, even in probably providing tests, also providing a like a fit description of what we envision it looking like.
Right. Yeah. Like, is it
Would be
loose? Is it
important.
boxy cut? Are
Exactly.
we, yeah.
So, and having the terms and stuff like that and making our thinking as clear as possible,
Hmm.
and our design vision can be very helpful. And sometimes it's not even that, but also create the story. Sometimes the story is important, and even in how you will describe your pattern when you sell it. This, like, give me the story for what you saw with this pattern. Did you see this on the Champs-Élysées in front of Hermes or something like that, and people feeling like they outdressed high street fashion? Then say
Hmm.
that and say that this is supposed to be avant-garde, this is supposed to be
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
or something like that. Then that gives a whole nother, I think of it from a whole nother mind frame. I can understand your vision of what you see when you came with this. Now, if you envision this as your everyday, I'm going to Walmart or Target and wearing this, looking like I am Gloria
Because the
Vanderbilt,
expectation is
please
different.
let me know that you wanted to emulate Gloria Vanderbilt from Coles, and then I will look at it from that description.
I think that's important too. Yeah. Because I do feel like, and now I will say that like I'm grateful because Made for Mermaids already kind of has like our tester process outlined,
Hmm.
which does make things a lot more streamlined, a lot easier, right? Because I think that all of our testers are clear. I know that talking about intended fit is important though, right? Because if my style might be bodycon, but I'm testing a dress that the intended fit is more with more ease during the
Right.
testing process, I would just like for you to make it for the intended fit
Right.
versus like after you have done your one test, then making whatever adjustments that you would to show off your style.
Mhm.
One of the really important things, there's a couple of things that stand out to me as someone putting patterns through the testing process. One is I really want people to test my pattern that is going to like they're going to wear it, right? It's going to add to their wardrobe because um the more you wear it, the more you make it. I got to be honest, the more it's going to sell. You know what I'm saying? And
Absolutely.
for me, that's very, very important. The other thing that is really, really important to me is having testers on different levels, right?
Hmm.
So I don't follow tutorials. Anyone who sews with me knows I'm probably not gonna have nobody's tutorial out in front of me as I sew. So it's important to me to have both a beginner to advanced, intermediate, all of the levels, be able to understand the tutorials, right? Because in
Hmm.
truth, the reason why I'm able to sew the way that I am now is because of the indie patterns, right? It's not because I learned how to sew via classes, YouTube University, or anything like that. I learned to sew because I they make instructions in a way that your average home sewist is should be able to read them, right? Like I should be able to go line by line, following those directions and achieve this garment. Uh, and that's really, really very important. I know to the indie designers that I personally know.
Hmm.
Something else that for me that's important is making sure that my measurements are correct, right? Because sometimes your girl just be getting to go and there are patterns that I hand grade. Like I hand graded the Aurora for every single size. But there are some that I don't actually go in and grade it before testing. right?
Mhm.
Now I will make edits to different sizes after seeing a bunch come in. But the Aurora, I felt like I needed to get that ease correct because it was negative ease in the top, positive ease in the bottom. And that was important to me to make sure that I got that correct. Um, like I'm literally wrapping up drafting my next pattern right now. And as I go into pattern testing, I know that there are some things that I'm looking out for because it's a pleated skirt, right? So those directions are going to be very, very particular because in order for us to get the proper fit, right? Because many women have the smaller waist to larger hip ratio. And with a pleated skirt, if you don't do it the correct way, then it's just not going to
It's,
fall. It's
yeah.
not going to lay correctly. So I know I'm specifically looking for that feedback on how easy it was to get the fit right for both versions of it, right?
Hmm.
Um, but the other thing is, as a pattern designer, if something that doesn't fit the right way, I want it to be brought to me, right? Like I want to be able to have that to be able to say, oh no, like I uploaded the wrong file or oh, I didn't check this properly, that sort of thing. One of the things that like in Made for Mermaids, because of course I'm also like the admin for the group and stuff like that. So we see a lot of things that will come in and be like, oh, I don't actually need this published, but I just wanted to let you know that like this was off. And then we have that opportunity to go back in and make the necessary changes in order for it to actually be correct. And so that we can like make that upload so that we don't look like Boo Boo the Fool, you know?
Hmm.
Um, I would, but I also feel like I think that I position myself to be approachable for that. You know what I mean? God bless you. Like I always want to be approachable and make people feel like their opinion, not necessarily their opinion, but that feedback matters, right? I don't
Right.
necessarily want the opinion on the design unless, of course, it's affirmation. Then yes, please affirm the design all day. I'm here for it. I want that for me. I want that for you. I want that for everyone. Um, but I feel like it's very, very big for testers to understand that a lot of times feedback, especially if you're like a neurodivergent pattern designer, the feedback process is extremely important. Like I did the test for, and this was the last pattern that I could test, and I've had to step away from testing patterns because your girl is like busy. But I did the
Busy.
pattern test for Brandon with Happily Dressed, and I
Hmm.
feel like his feedback form was probably the best that I'd seen. It didn't ask too many questions because listen, if your feedback form at has like 15 questions, like, look, I'm
I ain't
done.
doing it.
Right.
I
I'm
ain't doing
it's too much. It's too
it.
much. Right.
Hmm.
But one question that he asked was, did you have any fit issues that were pattern piece or grading related? And I felt that like that was key because when I looked at his, like I fit into the size chart, but when you looked at his sizing chart initially, there was negative ease in the hip area for a woven pair of jeans where there should have been positive ease. And he was
Hmm.
like, I really appreciated you catching that because I didn't notice that. So I think that we need the feedback of testers because we all like there are certain things that are always going to be important. As someone who makes her decision off of the finished measurements chart, like having that information in front of me is always going to be how I choose my sizing. Um, and so him being able to ask that was like that's made it so that it stood out to me and I was able to give that feedback. And I think that as testers, that's what I mean, as people running and designing tests, that's what we need. Like we need someone to take a look. And I also know I need all the help in the world with the tutorial because your girl doesn't read tutorials. So these are like, I'm like, should I have said it differently? How should I have said it? Because I literally
Right.
don't know because I don't know how it should read because I haven't read tutorials in years.
And I think that's something that makes me nervous because a lot of times what makes sense in my head don't it doesn't equate to coming out. You know what I'm saying?
Hmm. Hmm.
I think even in doing my tutorial, like doing my video so alongs, that is what always I'm up here trying to make sure I'm using the right wording. Um,
Hmm.
because otherwise I'm like, put this and this together. Y'all know how to do it. And it would be like an old school pattern when they say complete it or finish it in the normal way or in the
The
usual way.
normal way.
Literally, that's what patterns used to say. Finish in the
But
usual
like
way.
literally that's how I process it too. Like, yeah,
Yeah,
I'm gonna just do it my
just
way.
yeah, we're just gonna do this, and it be
People
done.
were up to me, my tutorial would literally be like, put it together so it looks like this in the best way that you feel is
Put it together with vibes
with
and
good
make it
vibes and
cute
love.
with a sprinkle of magic
And make sure you use excellent fabric.
and a little glitter.
That's how my tutorials will be.
I mean,
My tutorial
like
would be like, whatever your vibe is for how you feel like putting this together, let's go with it.
yes, and I believe in it. But I think on all parties, is we are now at a point where we need to better practice making thinking clear.
Mm,
Um, and having like we have the capacity not only as a song community but as a world, let's be
yeah.
real, and this is because this is a global issue, and knowing how to talk to each other,
Hmm.
um we need to better practice that.
Hmm.
um a lot of times we talk at each other, we use there's so much of bias infused in how we do it.
Mm.
There's so much, I've been doing this longer, I should know better, this is how I do things, and that should be the right way. Not
That I've
realizing,
been doing this longer thing because
child, look,
if we're gonna call a spade, it's ageism, right?
yes.
Because ageism can go both ways. In fact,
Hmm.
actually, my girlfriend who's a lawyer, her firm handled my step parent adoption. She has been nicknamed a pit bull on heels because of how she goes into that courtroom. Today, somebody told her, I've been practicing law longer than you've been alive. And I'm just like, a simple Google search would have humbled you, sir. That's all it would have taken. Your way is not the only way. And of course, I've seen this a lot with projector sewing, and I'm just like, thank you. Please keep engaging on that content for me so that my people can find me. Whatever.
When I tell you, so because I've been stress buying shit because that's what I do, and hence how I bought 5 machines this month.
Well,
um
golly. Not here to
Child, we ain't
judge.
gonna talk about it. We ain't gonna talk about it.
I need for you to stress read fantasy novels with me. Stress
So
buy books.
shit, I do that too, but it's usually someone shit. Um, but so what happened was that there was one machine that came in. So technically it was six, but I returned one. Um, and the machine didn't work. The feed dogs weren't working. And I messaged the seller saying like, "Hey, this is not working." They said, "Well, do you know how to use it correctly?"
Oh my God. They did not say that to the one and only Julian of Julian Creative.
Child. So, and I was
How many
like,
times did you read the message before you responded?
I laughed. I guffawed. I guffawed a little bit.
He said he guffawed.
I had to. Um,
You guffawed if you had to use guffawed in a sentence.
yeah. And then I said, yes, I do know how to use it correctly. I'm a sewing educator. I know what I'm doing. And returned and they said, okay, well, you can return it. If them bitches did not try to keep my money and said that I did not return it in the same conditions it was sent. Um, Child, when I tell you, it's everything in me is to not write a bad review because I don't like doing that to people. But we there. On top of other things.
Mm,
That was about to be my 13th reason. Y'all hear me? Y'all hear
13
me?
reason. No, sir.
So like knowing how to talk to people, and it's sometimes it's ages, sometimes it's just elitist because they think they got a better machine. They think that makes them a better sewist.
And we see elitism, and yeah, I'm gonna say it. We see elitism in craft snark all the fucking time.
Child, look.
Because the amount of vitriol and hate that is spewed in there.
And it looked like it came from the bargain bins at Kmart. But
Yeah,
yet they said that they think they are haute couture. You hear me? It looked like it came from La Rag Bin.
not
Catch the
low.
reference if you know Living Single.
We are living oh
Hey.
single.
But so
But I think that
it
you bring up an
like all
excellent
of
point
that.
here about even how we talk to each other when it comes to
Mhm.
feedback, right? I feel like
Mhm.
because I feel like people think that when you're on the internet, that just opens you up to being spoken to any old way. And that if
Mhm.
when they are disrespectful with their words that we're expected just be grateful that they spoke to us. Like, I feel like respect goes both ways, right? If someone were to come to me and be like, hey, I made the primrose, I followed the instructions to a T, I made sure that my print square was correct, but my fit is completely off, or the cuffs don't fit, or something along those lines, right? My only response would be, okay, actually, let me double check some things. And I'm gonna go
Right.
ahead and, you know what I mean? Like, let me make sure, let me remeasure some things in that final file, make sure it got uploaded correctly. And if they were the only person, which also shout out to me, no one has gotten any bad feedback about any of mine. But
Woohoo.
if they were the only ones, then it would be more or less like a thing of, here are some ways that we can troubleshoot fit, and it would
Right.
turn into like that opportunity for a teaching and learning moment.
Absolutely.
But like, if you are not if you're not the most kind with your feedback, not saying that you should walk on eggshells, but I think that speaking to others the way that we would appreciate being spoken to is definitely something that we need to take hold of, and
Mm.
treating each other the way that we would like to, craft snark, I think is really, really important, right?
Hell, forget Craftsnart everywhere. Everywhere.
Facts.
Every Facebook sewing group. Y'all hear me? Do
Oh my
you
God.
hear me?
Well,
Because I'm
I'd
tired.
like to say that in So For Real, my Facebook group, we don't have any of these issues. We're very
Usually it
kind and
doesn't
so for
happen
real.
often. We don't have it often in many of the groups I'm in, but I think I'm at a point now where I'm ready to start matching energies, and people don't realize that I match really well and I outmatch people most of the time.
Yeah.
I'm a black gay man. Understand the power that is within me to do some shit and be
How
petty as
about?
hell. But yet I don't,
Mm-hmm.
because I love I try to love the world. But the
Yeah.
way I've been looking at brochures for hell, I'm ready to
People
go.
are really very mean and hypercritical. And it's not even like about like, for me, it's not even a thing of like, oh, well, let me see you do it then, because that's not what it is, right? Because let's be real here. Design drafting is not for everyone, and that's okay. Like, it's still okay to
Hmm.
have feedback on how
Hmm.
things are drafted and everything like that. But
Hmm.
I really just feel like the way that we conduct ourselves as we're offering
We've
feedback
lost
determines
decorum.
whether or not that, yeah.
Hmm.
And one of the other things I really do feel like is a disservice to designers is when everyone has an issue, but no one's brought the issue to the designer.
That part. Yeah.
Like, how are they supposed to make anything better? How are they
Hmm.
supposed to fix it? How are they, and of course, this is not that right there is not in anything in particular or specific. But my thing is if all three of my kids are like, we actually don't think that you're a great mom, but no one has said, Mommy, we think that you're lacking. How am I supposed to become a better mom?
Right.
Just
Right.
like when I have conversations with my husband and we do check-ins of what could I be doing better as a wife? What could I be doing better as a husband? We have check-ins. We used to do them monthly, but we have check-ins where we speak to each other about what could I be doing better, and we open that door for feedback. Imagine if he didn't offer me any and then served up some divorce papers and was like, well, I can't stand. Like, wait a minute. Like, you didn't even give me the opportunity to like discuss with you some of these things. So this is not just in sewing. This is actually just in life, period, right?
Hmm.
Like, if people don't offer others feedback, how are we supposed to become better? We could read all the self-help books in the world, but if we don't know that that specific advice we could actually benefit from, how do we know to apply it? You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely. I think so. And as you're talking about, this is really something to be applied to the world. I mean,
Hmm.
we've seen it. We saw who was glorified, and we're back in an election cycle. We see who's being glorified again.
I just don't even, you know what?
I ain't saying nothing else beyond that, but I just want
We
I
got to
need
leave it
y'all to
there, just
realize,
simply because your girl doesn't have all of the words that she needs.
and when things devolve and people
Hmm.
understand where and why, and then talk like Jesus and we're God and all this other stuff, but look at who you're glorifying, and look at who people are emulating, because y'all have shown this person to be the populace, by with bad behavior and bad communications.
Bad behavior and piss poor, not bad, piss poor communication.
But
All
then
I'm saying is that
when a person of who is usually seen as a minority
hmm
buck up and say something,
then it becomes
then we the issue. Not realizing that most of the time we ain't even give you all the rah-rah that we got. Understand that I have
mhm.
the power to make your ancestors who died 1,000 years ago cry. But I ain't unleashed that on your ass.
Yeah.
People need to
And
realize
honestly,
that we match
feeling like you
energies
have
and
to, feeling like you have to, or even want to match energy, it doesn't feel good. Like having that feeling inside, that burn, right? Because oftentimes it's almost like, and if you watch Disney cartoons, shout out to you, but it's almost like Hercules in the movie Hercules, how Hades would get so angry and would like
Mhm,
literally flame up.
mhm,
That's what it feels like when you're the recipient of being wronged and you're trying to maintain control. Why? Because under the guise of treat others how you would like to be treated. You know what I'm saying? But
mhm.
sometimes you don't want to be a bigger person. And I one of my favorite sayings is if you don't always want to be the bigger person, stop surrounding yourself by small people. And it's like a thing of take that as you want it, right? Because like I have to be honest, there are going to be moments where I don't have it all together. And I still want to be treated with kindness because that's that reminder that I need to be kind. Now, oftentimes I believe in modeling behaviors for my children. So normally your girl is good, right? Because I'm normally
Mhm.
trying to teach my own damn kids how to be kind, right? But again, like I really feel like, and I say this all time in my stories, but more kindness is needed, right? Whether that is
Absolutely.
in giving feedback for patterns, asking for feedback, navigating, parenthood, navigating unclehood, right? Because shout out to the uncles and the aunties in the
Look,
communities, or whether you're at work, whether it doesn't matter, right? I'm always a strong supporter that if you lead with kindness, it will end up going well. That's not to say that you're bending over and taking it. That's not what I'm saying, right? And that's not
mhm.
to say that you can't set a boundary, right? Kindness in no way is saying that you can't have boundaries. Kindness in no way is saying that you can't say no or that you have to agree with everything. Kindness simply says that instead of being like, oh, their stuff looks like it's handmade, it could just be like, oh, well, in the picture, it just looked like, that hem needed a better press. That might be that feedback that we need because, I'm a beginner presser. I'm not embarrassed to talk about it. I talk about it as often as
or
I
or the
can.
question could be like, "Hey, what do you like about it?" And let's have a full conversation about it. And then
Yeah,
that can lead to teachable moments that they might be open to at that time. I
exactly.
think in my case, what I think this is just a season of me laying down people pleasing.
Mm-hmm.
So, and with that comes the tension of
Mm-hmm.
breaking out because that Hades thing is real right now. For
Mm-hmm.
me, that's my own personal feelings. So y'all again, because y'all getting salsa verde, Julian, today. I mean, we got some
He
some
says salsa
habaneros and stuff
verde.
in there. Um, but yeah, I think can we practice kindness? And I think and if you can't practice it with nobody else, practice it with yourself first. Because
Practice it with yourself.
if you can practice kindness with yourself, it will help make even the feedback coming to you a little bit easier.
Yeah.
And you can find the joy in learning, in the creating process, and not just in the final garment. And you can then learn to say, like, I love what I did no matter what, even if it don't look store made. And because store made ain't always going to be the aspiration that you want. Um, so let's find a way to practice the kindness that we just want, period, in the world, to ourselves, in the sewing community, to each other as pattern designers, as pattern makers. Let's find that kindness. But
Yes.
also I'm going to ask of our audience, um what questions would you like to be asked when you're
Yes.
making a pattern? Like, what would you like? What feedback do you usually find and want to give to people around the pattern? Now, we are saying this. So we're talking about fit. We're talking about
Mhm.
construction. We are talking about instructions or how it was conveyed and displayed and everything like that. We are not talking about the design itself. We are not
Mhm.
talking about the designer, but we want to know how would you like these things to be conveyed so
Mhm.
that us and no, there are other pattern design because people like our podcast. I can't believe it, y'all. People like
No,
us.
that is
Um,
like the dopest thing in the world when people be like, "Oh my God, I love that episode."
Child,
Keep
and,
sending us
and can quote pieces. I'm
information.
like
Yeah.
shocked.
No, keep sending us pictures of you listening to the podcast. We want to see it. Thank
Please.
you.
Yes. Um, but people are listening. So I think that this is a chance for us to open the dialogue and so that there could be a better symbiotic relationship between the market and the people are putting stuff on the market. Let's
Yeah,
start the conversation so that as a community we can give each other what we need. Especially, I mean,
exactly.
because we're
Exactly.
seeing shifts in the market. We're seeing more of the indie. We're seeing let's not even talk about how Joanne's ain't putting patterns out like we want them to put patterns out. Let's not talk about it. Let's not talk
Like
about it. I'm just
Coan's what's
saying.
going on.
I mean, and I understand money and stuff like that, but understand that we buy. We if we don't come in for nothing else, we come in for a sale, and y'all ain't had a sale for
It's
two
time
weeks,
for a
two,
sale.
3 weeks. How that work? Any hoodles. We want to let's start the conversation, and we will start collecting that data to share out in further episodes.
Yes, I love that. Now, if you are a tester, and I asked this in my stories, if you wanted me to share more tests and stuff like that, if you're a pattern tester and you're like, I really want to get into pattern testing, I don't know what's expected, I feel a little insecure, I feel like I don't have anything to offer. What I will say is that I will keep sharing pattern tests. I will definitely keep sharing pattern tests. I also want to share that one, and you guys already know that I stand for my girl Mandy. But Handmade Mandy has actually done a course on this. She originally did the course with Victoria of AudaSEWtea Studio, where Julian is taking his course, but it's specifically designed to help testers become testers. And this is actually a course that I've had a chance to take a look at. I've watched, I've taken a look at all of the slides. And honestly, I feel like it's excellent for testers as well as designers who have yet to run a test to even set the proper expectations with their testers. I feel like it is truly, truly, truly fantastic. And in our show notes, I will make sure I leave information on how you can find out more about that. Because at the end of the day, we want to see more pattern testers get to test patterns, but we also want to see more designers feel supported. Like, I know that it might seem like, oh, designers are not supposed to be in support of each other because we're supposed to be in competition, but we are not, right? When Julian launches, yes, your girl's going to be getting all out of the pattern testing mode, and I'm gonna be up in here testing some fucking patterns, okay? Why? Because I support. I support
Mhm.
him so very much. So yeah, your girl's gonna be out here testing. Just like when any of my fellow Nomi designers did their first pattern test, I was in them as well. When they needed help with making sure that their files were projector friendly, your girl was like, "Let me see them." Not, like I'm here to support. At the end of the day, the more designs that get put out there, the more creativity gets put out there. Like I'm so excited to see the designs that Julian drops because I know that they're not going to be your standard men's like patterns. Like I already know, right? Which means that a new aesthetic is going to be tapped into, milked, and then we're going to have more people out here feeling like they are seen in the design community. And I am excited. I might also have talked to him about making some stuff and drafting some stuff for women. You know what I'm saying? Um,
It's been a thought. So yes, we can
but,
talk.
but it's
We
fine.
can talk.
We're gonna we'll parking lot it just like we parking lot some of these other conversations.
Right.
But what I will say is that if you need me and my body Audie to sew up something for you, I surely will. Um, but yeah, so switching gears,
Mm-hmm.
Julian, what are you working on?
Child, my class.
Facts.
So trying to there's a schedule, so I'm trying to stay on schedule. I'm a little bit
Mm-hmm.
behind, but I have done the bodice block for front and back with darts.
Okay.
I have done it without darts so that it fits my body, as I do not have that bust projection.
Right.
Um, I am now at the point of sleeves, so that was supposed to be the finish like to last week, but I there's like a piece that I'm still trying to get on my bodice block. I need to fix, but doing that, and we are in design time for fall for Nomi, so I
We
am
are.
working on some things, giving some ideas. What about you? What you working
The same.
on? Look, look.
I am what am I working on? I've got a pattern that I am getting ready to put into testing.
Hmm.
Okay, so what am I working on? I am finishing up drafting this pattern. Got to
Hmm.
get this into pre-testing. My goal this year was to do one pattern per month. I'm a little behind, so that means that next month your girl is pushing for two patterns. I don't
Come
know if we'll
on.
be able to make it happen, but we will. Um, and then of course I'm in the pattern test for these jeans. I signed up to do the jeans because it was January, and I was like, yes, let us get these jeans on and popping, right?
Hmm.
And the fit, Julian, I only made version 3. The fit for version 3 fit like a glove for me. So it's going
Oh,
to be a yes for many, many more. Um, and outside of that, like, we've got, I don't know if you saw this, but we're doing self-love sewing in honor of Valentine's Day.
yeah.
So we are focusing on making things that are very exciting and make us feel nurtured, make us feel seen, make us feel beautiful, make us feel loved, as opposed to being like, oh, I want to make lingerie for this person to see me in. But like, look at these jeans. Oh my gosh.
So I did make a pair of jeans to test out one of the sewing machines that came in. So,
And it looks fantastic.
hmm,
Um, but yeah, the focus really is on self-love because like self-love is the best love. We know that, right?
of
And
course.
yeah, so that's what we're celebrating. So I'm excited about that because, we're going to get some sponsors to go over here and so that we can have some fabric discounts so that people can go ahead and get the things that they need in order to create these items. I'm actually asking for people to send me who their favorite like pattern, I mean not pattern, but who their favorite um like fabric companies are who are having these really these really great Valentine's Day themed fabrics. So
Oh,
that's what I'm
okay.
working on.
Come on. Come on.
But listen,
So,
any sew alongs that I do, we gonna do some Valentine's Day stuff. We might be making some bras, panties, etc.
right. Also, so this weekend, I am Black Sewing Network. We are finishing up our beginner sewing month. And
Yes.
Sunday service is a quilt. We're doing another quilt. So we are doing a disappearing nine patch quilt. Dr. Hale, Jennifer Hale, she
Mhm.
will be the host. But I am one of the guests. So I got my fabric in the other day. It will be a little interesting. It's gonna be fun. Because I'm doing a
Ooh.
huge disappearing nine patch. So I'm using layer cake, so 10-inch squares, to make mine. So it will not be like a smaller size, it will be huge.
Right.
Um, and my layer cakes are of Ankara and of like some other green and pink colored regular squares. So it's about to be interesting. About to be
I know it's
interesting.
gonna be so beautiful.
I hope so. We gonna find out what
It is.
what
It's
comes
gonna be
of it.
beautiful.
And I think I'm going to do it a little differently because I'm going to do most of the piecing on the serger. So,
Yes, I stand for that. I love
hmm,
that. So
hmm.
just in case people do not know, can you give us the details behind Sunday service? Like the
Yeah. So Sunday
time,
service
held.
is will be on TikTok. So it will be at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on TikTok. You will be able to find it if you follow me at Julian Creates. And it will connect you to who all will be on the panel that day. This is our normal regular time. If you are on TikTok and want to go to Black Sewing Network and go to the link in the bio, you can find out all the information about all the sew alongs that we offer, which are every day. Because today is Wednesday that we are recording this. I'm doing a sew along tonight, and we'll be doing a new look pattern. New look N6772 is one of their newer patterns. And I think we're gonna do the sweatshirt, but we might do more. We'll see.
Yes, I like this. We might do more. I like
We might
that.
do
I love
more.
that.
So
So
yeah,
definitely make sure that you are keeping up with what is going on with Black Sewing Network, especially because I'm sure that they're going to have some kind of fun like challenge that is coming up for February, given that it's Black History Month. So make sure that you are tuning
absolutely.
in for
Absolutely.
that to make sure that you can be ready, right? Because you know what they say, stay ready so you don't have to waste time getting ready.
So actually, I can already give you a
Okay,
preview of that.
yes.
So there is two challenges going on. We are doing we're sewing black pattern designers all month long. So
Yes, I
um,
love it.
Black indie designers, I think all month long, or even like Know Me and stuff like that all month long.
I love it.
And there's also a Miss Seeley's Pants Challenge happening. So where
Ooh.
you can use a pattern by a Black designer, or if you are Black, you can go to sewist.org, I think it's sewist.com, and be your own designer and put in
Yes.
your measurements and design your own pants. So
I like that a lot.
in honor of the color purple and everything like that. And of course, Miss Seeley had Miss Seeley's pants. So definitely something to check out if you head over to Black Sewing Network to find out more.
Excellent. Excellent. I love that for us. Well, this wraps up our episode. So, Julian, go ahead and take us home.
So, y'all, we want to say thank y'all so much for joining us this week. And we hope that you find time to recenter yourself, be kind to yourself,
Hmm.
and find some time to be creative. Until next time, y'all, keep creating and being audacious.